Hello, everyone. Welcome to Plant Material Group 11 for HOR 160 spring semester. And the good news about this plant list is that they are 100% on main campus. So enjoy your time as you go around and collect your plant samples. It's beautiful this time of year. The grass is looking absolutely beautiful. We've got azaleas blooming. We've got a number of plants getting ready to open their blooms and show us their beauty. So I love this time of year. And let's go ahead and get started. All right. You see the azaleas back there, and this is at the Masters, which is played in April. I'm not sure what's going to happen this year, with the COVID. I think they're going to play it. But golf is a game that, is all about the landscape. And I love Tiger Woods. I think he is one of the best athletes all around. Not just for his sport, but just being an athlete in itself. He's just a really good guy, and I love watching him play. I'm not that big a fan of golf, even though I should be because I am the turf teacher and I love turf grass. But I love watching Tiger Woods play. I don't have any other favorite golfer like that, and it's just fun to watch him play. And like I said, I'm a LeBron James fan as well, even though he will never be Michael Jordan. But I think Tiger Woods is probably, the best overall athlete. And that's just my personal opinion. But I wanted to throw that in there since we are talking about the Masters and actually take a look at these azaleas in the backdrop. That is absolutely amazing. And, watching the Masters on TV, and when you see those azaleas like that live, it's unbelievable. So if you get a chance to go to the Masters, go. It's just worth it to actually see the grounds there at Augusta National. But let's go ahead and get started with our plants. The first one is our, Florida Leucothea. It is a shrub that blooms white, kind of pale looking leaf. I'm not going to lie, but those upside down umbrella or lantern looking cluster of flowers is absolutely beautiful. It's a good filler plant. It can be used in the foundation. It's easy to prune with hand pruners. As you've seen there in our location videos, somebody had actually cut them. I don't know if it was a maintenance personnel at Forsyth Tech or if it was, just somebody in the horticulture program. I don't know. I didn't see who did it, but recently it has been pruned. The one that we saw, it's over by the old horticulture building, the Winston building, and so take a good little hike up there and get a sample of the Florida Leucothea. And here you actually see in the natural landscape, look at that light green stem that it has, and look at the leaves that are coming off of it. It's kind of a droopy looking plant, but that's okay. It's natural natural look. Just don't go to town with hedge clippers is what I'm afraid some landscapers will do, especially on the next slide when we see how unkempt that this plant can start to look, meaning that it's going to get a little crazy hairdo that people want to get the buzzards out and and cut it all off. And there is, like the picture of it being unkempt. Kind of wild and crazy lining this driveway here. I would want some undergrowth in here. I don't know why it's actually done that. They've probably cut it that way, but it shouldn't grow that way. It should be more kind of like this up here. But even though they're starting to undercut it there, let it be a shrub. Don't try to tree form it. Let it be the plant that it wants to be. Another good close up. There, this one's kind of hugging the ground, which is the way it should be. And then up against the foundation. So it is a good typical foundation plant. It's a plant that I would use as a filler. All right, our next plant is the drooping leucothea. That variegated colors, as you remember me talking about in the location video, that mixture of red, yellow, and green, it's just beautiful. Those red tips look like they're getting ready to open up, and then all of the colors mixed in on the leaf makes it a wonderful plant to have in the landscape. And this is a plant that would also brighten up any dark landscape that you may have. It's going to reflect some sunlight off of those yellow leaves. Good close up of the flowers. Very similar flower as the Florida leucothea. It's got those burnt tips or those red tips at the end of the leaf. And here is the Macajazz variety in the landscape. Then another close up of your leaf. And then actually look at that fall color. So real pretty, that reddish bronze color. So that is your Florida, not your Florida, but your drooping leucothea. They're right outside the Almond Center, going down the steps to the Hoosier Hall and where the cafe is. There is a row of them planted on top of that wall near the azaleas and rhododendron that we see as well. Now, the Ligustrum japonicum. In the location video, I've showed you the plants that resemble that. You actually saw the Lucidium and the Ligustrum sinensis variegatum. Those were near Hoosier Hall. One is directly behind Hoosier Hall, and that is the variegatum. And then the Lucidium was there growing on Oak Grove Road near where we turn in to go to the Strickland Center. And then you saw the Recurvifolium, which was directly behind the Almond Center. All of those have the genus name of Ligustrum. And people get them mixed up. And it's okay because everybody calls all of them Ligustrum. I don't care what it is. All three of these plants right here are going to be called Ligustrum by the homeowners and by landscapers. You will hear the word privet for the one on the right, Ligustrum sinensis variegatum. You'll hear that called privet or Chinese privet. But the one that we're truly studying is, the one there on the left, a little bit smaller leaf. But a lot of times in the landscape, the japonicum and the lucidium, people are going to misidentify. And so most of our samples that you're going to look at for your quiz is going to be the lucidum. And so that's what we're going to use, but we're using it as a sample for the Ligustrum japonicum. So don't freak out about that, guys, because there are a lot of plants out there like that people are going to use the same name for it, Ligustrum. All three of these people are going to call Ligustrum, except the one there on the right, you will hear it mainly called privet. And here is your Ligustrum japonicum. Now, both the Recurvifolium and the Lucidium actually had these little black berries growing all over it. So it's pretty neat seeing these these plants, and you'll get them on. You'll get a little stain on your finger, not a stain. You'll have to wash it off, but they'll leave a residue on your finger. But the ligustrum here, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the most fragrant plants that you'll want to use in the landscape. I know there's a lot of other plants that I say that about, but the ligustrum absolutely smells wonderful. Even, I think, even more so probably than, oh my gosh, the ones that we saw very, very early on. I think it was the second week here in this class. But I love seeing these planted around a patio, mixed in with like some autolucans underneath them. It's just a very, very good plant for patio settings, just because of the smell and the shape that it is going to actually have. Um, Here it is, tree formed, and I don't like what it is saying about the flower, that it is an unpleasant odor. No, it's not. It smells very, very good. Now, maybe I'm a little bit weird or something, and people don't like it. I think they're saying that it is kind of odory is probably because it's too strong, and people might be like, the flower is just a little too strong. So maybe having, 3 or 4 around the patio might not be the thing to go. But if you had one, it might not be as strong. So um, I don't like why it's saying that, but like I said, to each their own. Some people may find it an offensive odor. But this is how you need to have this tree or this shrub. Tree formed like this around the patio. It's going to create shade. It's going to give that fragrance, if it's not too strong for you. And it just looks pretty around a patio setting. Being able to look into the patio and being able to sit there at your table and view what's going around in the landscape. And here they've left it as a, hedge form. Still looks pretty. Here, the one on the left, they've actually tree formed it again, there with the palm trees. So this is a plant that you will see in Florida. When I was down at the um, Sports Turf Management Association, the STMA, down in Fort Lauderdale, this happened right before COVID. We've seen a ton of ligustrum. That was like one of the few plants that I recognized in Florida, just because of the different zone that we were actually in. So, but a very beautiful plant nonetheless. And the bottom tag right there, deer resistant. So people are always asking about plants that are deer resistant. Rhododendron catabones, your standard rhododendron. And now I know that the rhododendron is also an azalea as well, but this plant right here in particular is what we've always known it to be as a rhododendron. It is the rhododendron shrub. The azaleas I've always called azaleas. I've never called them rhododendron, even though they are a species of rhododendron. But look at these big softball size flowers. Absolutely gorgeous. This is probably the number one foundation plant in North Carolina, definitely probably in the Southeast, just because of these beautiful almost pom-pom looking flowers. Absolutely stunning. They come in an array of colors, so people are going to be able to get what they want from it. It is a native plant, 6 to 10 feet in height. So that's going to be, 10 feet is going to be a little tall for a foundation planting, but people are pruning them back. These are the one shrubs that you don't really have to worry about too many people using a hedge clipper on, because they kind of understand it, I guess, just because of the big leaf. But nonetheless, used in the foundation planting with other azaleas, kurumis, especially the Delaware Valley whites and Hershey reds. Some of my favorite azaleas mixed in with these rhododendron. They grow kind of wild. You know, sometimes people call them mountain laurels. You'll be able to drive up to the mountains and kind of see them growing in the woods. So here, you know, they're growing there on the mountainside. But like I said, you know, different colors, a beautiful leaf in itself, just an all around good plant to have in the landscape. Likes shade a little bit, even though this one here is planted in full sun. Um, uh, does do better, you know, in the shades. They like that shady environment. But look at that thing right there. It's uh, remarkably outstanding, as I would like to say. And then, you know, highly toxic, maybe fatal if eaten, but I don't understand why people would try to eat the plants, but they do. And that's why they've got to warn you not to eat them. Your rhododendron indica or indicum, and I know I talked a lot in the location lecture about, you know, one of the plants being orange. Yes, and they do have an orange bloom. They do have, you know, some other colors, but you know, this one hasn't opened up yet. Right there at the top of Hart's Garden, you know, right before you go across the bridge, it's not opened yet. But as you can see, you know, we got a really good sample of that leaf cluster for our samples page. Another beautiful looking color here. And I love azaleas. You know, uh, I'm recording this lecture, you know, April 3rd, 2021, 11:30 at night, um, because you know, it's the day before Easter. I'm trying to, you know, take a little bit of time and spend with the family tomorrow, um, being Easter. And azaleas is one of the, you know, favorite Easter plants out there. You know, garden centers are selling a ton of these. You know, because we already see some blooming. You know, we saw some blooming in the Hart's Garden, and so a lot of your nurseries have kept their azaleas like in, you know, the greenhouses, getting them to go ahead and bloom so they can sell them. And it's another big high ticket or high volume ticket plant at Mother's Day as well. So really, really cool plant to sell this time of year. Here is your number one reason you do not use a hedge clipper on azaleas. Look underneath the pine tree here. You can see some in the background that didn't get hedge clipped too much, but the buds were cut off. Somebody went in and hedge clipped these. Now, you wouldn't even be able to tell these were azaleas unless they did have some of the bloom on it. But if you were to go in June or July and see this shrub, you're probably going to think it's like a compacta holly if you were standing at the same distance as we are right now looking at this slide. You couldn't tell it apart. You can tell it's azalea now because it has some pink in it. But these shrubs here in the front, they should be full, like the one in the very back. They should all just be really on fire, lit up pink big time, but they've been hedge clipped. You have to prune them immediately after blooming so they can reset their buds for the following year. Here's one kind of growing in the woods, and that's the way it should look. Azaleas should just kind of look wild and kind of crazy, and they should be maintained only by hand. Now, here is that oranges color that I was telling you about, or kind of a peachy color. You know, I love peach, love eating peaches, but I'm not a peach candy or peach juice or peach, you know, peach flavored water kind of guy. I love the peaches, but just not peach candy or anything like that. But this is a beautiful plant here, nonetheless, that orangish peach color. So it gives you a little bit of different color in the landscape when needed. There they've got one, you know, bonsai, which is absolutely cool. All right, rhododendron ponicum, one of your good looking plants used for You know, that magnificent color right there. Again, there we see a mixture of them going all together. This is your Krumi azalea. So, you know, your Delaware Valley whites, your Hershey reds. What is can't remember the most popular pink one right offhand, but it is uh, this color right here is very, very popular. And here is, you know, the Hershey red and the Delaware Valley white. Again, you know, highly toxic. Do not eat the plants. But, you know, this is your Krumi azalea. Here we're seeing our gumpo. I know I talked a little bit about the gumpo in the location video, but it's your rhododendron X hybridum genera Satsuki, or your gumpo azaleas. These are used a lot in like almost a formal setting because they're low and compact. They don't need pruning hardly at all. Once a blue moon, you might have to go in there and just kind of you know, snip a little bit here and there, but it's very tight and compact. It has a darker green or leaf than some of the other azaleas, and it just looks healthy. Some of these other azaleas can start looking nasty in the woods and in the landscape, but the gumpo always looks fairly good. One of the problems that you may see in the landscape is that if leaf buildup gets down in the plant itself, like the fallen leaves from the trees, you would want to clean them out because it'll start to kill it from in. There is a diverse range of, you know, flower forms and color patterns. The name Sadzuki in Japanese is reference to their blooming period, the 5th month of the Asian lunar calendar. They are commonly used as a subject in bonsai. True, and this would be just because of their compactness makes it very showy for that. So there are thousands of different varieties, but some of the popular ones are, you know, the Nico. We'll see quite a bit. Out of those names right there, the Nico is the one that I think I've probably seen it the most. The Gayotin, seen it. Um, the Hakuri, yes. But, you know, your Gumpo azalea. There's a peachy color as well for it. Good close up. And plant number 8, your Yucca filamentosa. I used to just have Yucca species on here, but I wanted to kind of, you know, talk more about, you know, the Yucca filamentosa. This is probably one of the most popular ones that you would see in it. I know there's in my front yard, there are some that were planted back in 1923. So I was talking about this in the location lecture, that I live in a 1923 farmhouse right now. Me and my wife are getting ready to build our new home starting here in the next couple of weeks. But we live in the 1923 farmhouse, and as soon as we move out, most of the house right now is used as office space for our landscape company, and we're going to turn it 100% into our landscape office, you know, once we move into the new home. But right in the front yard, we have some yuccas planted that my grandmother planted back in the day. So they built this house back in 1923 after their original home was, you know, destroyed in a fire. So, but I love the yuccas. They're hardy. They're going to be there forever. You know, it's just something different in the landscape to have. It has a beautiful flower, as you can see here in the slide, and they're even when they're spent or they've, you know, browned out, they still look good. You know, they got the big stalk that comes up out of the middle, and they just look beautiful doing that. And I love this, you know, variegation here of the yellow and green, and I love, you know, that fuzzy hair that's all over it. And you can see that in a good sample in our samples page and our samples lecture. but got that stalk coming up out of them. It just looks really cool doing that. And again, almost looks like upside down umbrellas. And those hairs there. So really cool plant or yucca. And it's one of the ones that, you should be able to remember fairly easy because um, you know, it's one of a kind, especially on this plant list. Now, the Sansevieria, interior plant kind of looks like it, but um, you would only see that inside. And so again, we finish up with, a golf picture of the azaleas, and then look at these azaleas in the woods here. Uh, just amazing seeing that. So anyway, guys, I appreciate it, and I will see you in the next lecture.